what happens if you take an alcoholic or somebody that just drinks 2 to 4 nights a week, a couple of drinks, which I think is pretty common out there, and you put them on a ketogenic diet? Has that experiment been done?
That experiment has been done, and led by none other than a woman named Nora Volkow, who is one of the leading neuroscientists and addiction researchers in the world. She is the director of the National Institute of Drug Abuse. She's been hot on the trail of metabolic abnormalities in the brains of people with alcohol use disorder, which I will just refer to as alcoholics because that's what everybody knows it as. So she's been hot on this trail for many, many years. And as you said, it turns out that the reward pathways in particular are metabolically compromised in alcoholics. And the metabolic compromise essentially in a nutshell means they aren't getting enough fuel from glucose. The interesting thing is that when people drink alcohol, your liver converts alcohol into a molecule called acetate. That acetate travels up to the brain and fuels brain cells, in particular, some of these reward pathway cells more than others. And so chronic alcoholics have this chronic deprivation of energy in these cells. And so Nora Volkow and other researchers at National Institutes of Health did a study in which they set out to see if we can change this brain metabolic problem in alcoholics, will that affect clinical symptoms of alcoholism, and will it do anything, that's clinically useful? And so they actually did a pilot randomized controlled trial, admitted alcoholics to a detox unit. Half of the patients got a ketogenic diet, the other half got the standard American diet. And then everybody else, all of them got the same detox protocol. The patients who got the ketogenic diet required fewer benzodiazepines for their detox. Despite that, they had fewer withdrawal symptoms from the alcohol. They reported fewer cravings for alcohol. And the researchers did brain scans, which showed improved brain metabolism in these key areas that they were looking at. And their brains showed reduced levels of neuroinflammation, which was also something they were really interested in. And so that one study says to us that even though most people would think alcoholism has nothing to do with diet, alcohol is just drinking too much. It's a matter of willpower. Or it's somebody who's addictive. They've got an addictive personality, and it's that simple. You come out of the womb with an addictive personality, and those people are, novelty seekers, and they're impulsive, and they have no patience, they have no discipline, they can't sustain, any kind of rewarding experience.
Or childhood trauma. There's a
yes
story there, which there very well may be, but
there may be.
Yeah.
But what that research study strongly suggests, and again, yes, maybe we need larger controlled trials, but this is one of the leading neuroscientists in the world who's hot on this trail. This is what she believes, and this is what I believe, is that if we can correct the brain metabolic defects from chronic alcohol use, we might be able to help people be sober and give them a fighting chance, or give them an edge up, or pull a lever that we can use in their favor for their benefit. There's one caution to all of this research that I really do want to highlight. And so now I'm going to get hate mail from all the keto community.
That's okay. I mean, anytime I admire you for talking about nutrition at all, because anytime one talks about nutrition, you're going to get hate mail from somebody. But
so the caveat to all of this is that as part of the research that those researchers were doing, they actually wanted to see what will happen to alcohol levels if an animal consumes alcohol while on a ketogenic diet. So they didn't do this in humans yet. This is a fairly easy study to do, so I'm hoping somebody will do this study soon. But they They instead put rats, half of them on a standard diet and half of them on a ketogenic diet, and then they exposed them to the exact same amount of alcohol. The rats who were on the ketogenic diet had a 5-fold increase in blood alcohol levels. 5-fold increase.
Meaning they drank more, or
No.
it was metabolized differently?
It was metabolized differently. The rats all got the same amount of alcohol.
So for people out there who are ketogenic, I'm chuckling, but who are not alcoholics, please do something about it because it's so detrimental. But I guess, does this mean that they can drink less in order to get the effect of alcohol that most people are seeking?
Cheap dates. Cheap date is what you call that. You only need a half a drink instead of 3 drinks.
I would think the keto community would thank you for this, unless they somehow have a stake in the alcohol industry.
The reason that I put it as a caution is that if anybody is struggling with alcoholism and thinks, hey, I need an edge up, I need a lever to pull because I'm really struggling to give this stuff up, I just find myself going back. And if you're telling me my brain metabolism is messed up and this might help it, I'm all in favor of that. And yes, that's what the researchers are pursuing, and that's what I'm saying, with the following caveat, that if you relapse while on a ketogenic diet, you better not drink the same amount of alcohol that you think you can drink.
Could be deadly.
It could be deadly, and or it could be really, deadly to you or someone else, because unfortunately, a lot of times when people drink, they get behind the wheel and they think that they can handle 2 drinks safely. And they think, well, I can go out for dinner and have 2 glasses of wine and drive home safely. I know myself. If you go to a ketogenic diet, please don't drive with the same 2 drinks, because it means your blood alcohol level, if it models anything that we found in the rat study, your blood alcohol levels may be 5 times higher than they would normally be. And that means you are really wasted, and you're probably not safe to be driving.
Probably the same is true for drinking on an empty stomach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a very important point, and thank you for raising that. But this is very interesting, I think, in the context of everything we've been talking about, because could it be that supplementing with liquid ketones or prescribing liquid ketones to people who are challenged with mood disorders or things of that sort could be beneficial, even if they are not willing or able to adhere to a ketogenic diet?
That is the $1 million question right now. And we don't have good trial data to say yes or no. My speculation, my hunch, having tried that clinically with patients, is it doesn't seem to work. It's not the same thing. The bigger reason for my feeling confident in saying that is that we've had ketone salts and esters available for over a decade now. We have tens of thousands of children and adolescents who are following a strict, ridiculously strict ketogenic diet to control their epilepsy. Those kids would love to be off the ketogenic diet. Their parents would love to have them off the ketogenic diet.
No birthday cake, no ice cream.
There is not one case report of any child controlling his or her seizures using exogenous ketones without also doing the ketogenic diet. I just find it hard to believe that at least some of those people haven't tried it out to see. I do know some patients with bipolar disorder and even schizophrenia who are doing extraordinarily well on a ketogenic diet. They have tried to switch off the ketogenic diet using exogenous ketones. Their symptoms came back, and so they found that it just wasn't effective. Now, again, those are anecdotes. My scientific speculation about why is because the ketogenic diet is actually not necessarily about ketones themselves. Ketones are one of a multifaceted story there. And so when people do a ketogenic diet, they're also they're lowering glucose levels, they're improving insulin signaling, they're ramping up mitochondrial biogenesis, in particular in the liver, because mitochondria actually make ketones. That's where they're made, and they're primarily made in the liver mitochondria. So when somebody's in a fasting state or on a ketogenic diet, their liver mitochondria go through the roof because they're being called to action. It's like, hey, body's in starvation mode, get to work. And so the mitochondria, the cell senses, we need more mitochondria to process fat, to turn it into ketones so that those ketones can get up to the brain and keep the brain fueled. Because fatty acids can't fuel the brain. Only ketones can. Now, so my sense is that, and the gut microbiome changes and everything, the changes in hormones. So if you're eating a lot of donuts and drinking a bottle of ketones, the donuts are going to prevent your body from lowering glucose levels. You're still going to have the high glucose levels from the donuts. You're still going to probably have the impaired insulin signaling. You're probably still going to possibly have some inflammation from the inflammatory effects of that food. And so just drinking ketones alone won't be enough.